Hello everyone, my name is Christian. Welcome back to my hobby blog. I'm very excited today because I'm going to be reviewing Book 8 of The Expanse by James S. A. Corey, which is called Tiamat's Wrath. Again, this is Book 8, so I'm going to be doing a pretty short non-spoiler section. And I'm going to have to talk about spoilers because there's a lot that happens in this book that I have feelings on. And while reading the book, I really felt like my emotions were going up and down like the entire book. Where there were at times where, right off in the beginning, I won't say what happens, but there was a thing in the prologue that made me so mad and sort of started me off the book very negatively. And then as the book went on, I started to enjoy it more. The new POV of what's his name? I think it's Paolo Cortazar. He's one of the doctors that we are introduced to in this book, and he works with one of the cooler characters of the series, and her name is Elvie Okoye, and she is awesome in this book as well. But getting this new POV, he was so much more interesting in my view than the new POV that was focused on book 7. That was sort of, we've been getting these new sort of point of views within this new threat from the beyond. I'm trying to go as non-spoiler as I can, but I'm trying to sort of talk about this book for those who haven't read any of the Expanse books, but I really enjoyed the POV from the enemy side, I'll say. And I enjoyed it a whole lot more than I did in book 7. Book 7, I really felt like they weren't really doing much with the character, but in this book, the character is so fully realized and very interesting, and the decisions he makes and the things that he thinks about and sort of believes in is so much more interesting than sort of the cog in the wheel point of view that we got in book 7. And so as the book went on, I really fell in love with basically everything in this book until a certain point when a character seemingly dies, and then I was like, well, shit, like my rating tanked again. And then something happened where I accepted that death, and then another death happened, and I was like, oh gosh, I don't like this book at all. Like, it's making me feel so much. But then I finished the book, and I was like, you know what? This is probably one of my favorite Expanse books since book 3 or book 4. So, whatever book was sort of beyond the Ring Worlds, I think they called it. But I really enjoyed this book. Yes, it was a complete roller coaster of swinging from bad to good, bad to good. But I really enjoyed it, and we also have this new POV of Teresa Duarte. And I hope I said that right, I probably didn't. But Teresa is the daughter of the main enemy of this trilogy, this post-time skip trilogy. And I really enjoyed reading her POV. I wish there was more done in regards to one of the characters that she meets, because that character ends up being a character we already know. And I was really upset by how little sort of scenes we had that showed that they were actually this other character. And with that in mind, well, I guess I should first give my rating for this book. So, before going into spoilers, but I think my rating for this book, it's really hard to do because I think as a whole, it is a 8.5 out of 10. I don't know if it quite reaches the 9 out of 10. Like, it's great. This is like one of the best books of the series, because I still think books 1 to 3 are just so much better and more interesting and action heavy, and has a lot of stakes, and is very focused on the sci-fi, which this book has a little bit more sci-fi actually, and through the point of view of Dr. Okoye. But I'm still wishing we had the level that we had in the first few books, but that's fine. I'm not going to counter against it, but that's why it's not a 9 for me. Because I do like the more scientific ideas that James S. A. Corey, the two authors, come up with. They have really cool like ideas, and I want them to keep doing that. And now we're a lot more focused on politics and everything with that, which is fine. I mean, it's sort of the repeat criticism I have on this book, but I really enjoyed this book. I'm so excited to start book 9 here soon. But let's talk about spoilers. So, right off the bat, in book 8, after book 7, we have everything going on. We have the amazing character Christian Avasarala still involved in the main plots of the Expanse. And then in the prologue of this book, she dies of old age. And I totally get it. It's fine. I got over it very quickly. I love that character, but I was really hoping that she would last until the end of the series. Even if she was just like on a vacation home island or something, like just being with her family and sort of not being a part of the plot. I just wanted her alive, but I completely understand why she was she died. So, but that was sort of the first like big whiplash for me, because one of the first sentences of the book is them saying that Avasarala is dead and everyone's going to her funeral. And that was a really great scene, by the way, of everyone, Holden, Naomi, and everyone reuniting about halfway through the book, I think, or maybe at the end of the book. And they talk about Avasarala and how much influence she had and how much impact she had with everyone. And I just love that. I really loved what they did with Avasarala this book, even though she's dead. They still had her be such a major element of the story, which I love it. I love Avasarala. I love the actress who plays her, which I can't remember. Soe Agadashlu. Yeah. She's an amazing actress. I love her in the TV show. But I was really kind of upset like that she died. And I guess that speaks to how much I loved her character. And second of all, we have the death of, seemingly the death of Amos Burton, which that was the thing that made me almost hate the book, because I love Amos. He is my favorite character outside of Miller. And Amos was someone who was gone the entire book. No one knows where he is this book. And it's at the end of the book, because he ends up being the friend of the daughter of the emperor, and he's sort of being friends with her and trying to learn more about her father, whose name is let me find it. I can't they don't say what his name is on the back, but his last name is Duat, so they call him Duat a lot, like Emperor Duat or something like that. And we have these really cool scenes of secret friend character and Teresa talking, and he's sort of like, hey, like, I'm your friend, like, and she has a dog that everyone keeps like befriending, and Holden is in this sort of complex with Teresa, and he hasn't really run into Amos and doesn't even know that Amos is around. And we get this reveal where Teresa goes to the cave that Amos is sort of hiding at, and she shows up and she's like, hey friend, like, I'm back, like, how you doing? And she's just trying to have a good chat, and then all these people just run in and shoot him, just killed him instantly. And I was like, who was this guy? Like, why did he just get killed immediately? And they're like, that guy was Amos Burton. And I was like, oh my god. I was like, did they really just kill Amos? Like, it's not off screen, like, it's not as bad as that, but it's the fact that maybe I'm just stupid. I don't know. Maybe I should have known that was Amos, but I didn't. So, like, when he got killed and they were like, oh, that's Amos. He's, the terrorist. He was aligned with Holden. Holden must know something about this. And Holden is like, I don't fucking know. And Holden is just like in disbelief about this. And they find nukes in Amos's cave, which means that he was going to use it at some point, and they don't know when, because he doesn't have really any records. He has it pretty locked down really well, in conjunction with Naomi, because I think Naomi sort of set up all the communication systems to make it so none of them could really communicate in a way that would reveal who was talking to who. So Amos is killed, and then we get a scene where he's dead on the table, and they're talking about how, like, oh, like, he's dead, he's a terrorist, like, all this stuff, and he disappears. And I was like, oh my gosh, like, he just disappeared. And then we have this thing early in the book, by the way, which I loved because it set up this moment very perfectly for me, and why I ended up really enjoying the book is that we have these animals on this planet that this emperor is from, that he is sort of using the ring worlds as sort of bases for his empire. And he sends his super highly advanced technology and spaceships and stuff through the rings and just takes over humanity beyond within the solar systems that Earth, Mars, and Venus and all those places are. And these animals on this planet, they sort of take control using the proto-molecule of dead bodies, and they come back and are able to be sentient. So we have a scene where we have these two kids who are being scientifically experimented on with the proto-molecule. And this is what Dr. Okoye is working on, and she's really trying to make it a really sort of humanitarian science thing, because they have sentience within them, these kids, and she knows that they can sort of figure out what is going on right now in the series. And they're really scared, and we have the really great scenes of them, those three, talking to each other about proto-molecule and sort of what they remember. And technically they're in their 30s because they died when they were 12, but the proto-molecule has kept their bodies alive for 20 years, which is in the time span of the time skip between books 6 and 7. So it was really cool. And these sort of proto-molecule animals, they can sort of bring back dead animals, because we have a few scenes where they bring back to life various fauna and stuff like that. And I was like, after we got the scene of maybe, or not maybe Amos, it was Amos, but not really sure who this guy was, and then guy yelling, oh, that was Amos Burton, he was a terrorist, thank God we killed him. And I was like, oh my God, I fucking hate this. Like, I don't like this at all. I got that idea like a chapter or two later. I was like, what if those animals bring back Amos? And he is brought back by those animals. And he's like, hey, Holden, like, I'm back. And Holden is like, are you really Amos? And Amos is like, yeah, basically. Don't worry about it. And that was sort of me guessing that the authors wanted to sort of reassure the fans or the readers that, you know, Amos is not dead. Technically, he died, but he is still around and conscious and intelligent and all this stuff. And they address it. And so I was very happy with that. And we also have this really fascinating and exciting action scene at the end when everything is going to shit, and we have Holden and Teresa sort of escaping the base. And I loved the set piece at the end of the book, because we have a lot of things going on between the humans and the humans of our solar system versus the Empire. And we have Bobby Draper, who, by the way, is awesome, awesome, awesome. She is top 3 characters, I feel like, of the series, aside from Miller and Amos. And she sort of leads this resistance and kills or destroys one of the big flagships of the Empire. Because at the end of book 7, I believe, they destroy one of them. In this book, they destroy another one. And then they disable the third one. So the Empire has 0 control now within the ring world, or past the ring worlds into our worlds. So it's complicated to talk about. The inner planets, I should call them. But so Bobby, she is leading this force, and she's flying around with Alex, who I love. Alex, he's an amazing character. All these characters are lovely. I love them. But they're flying around together and sort of doing this resistance. And Bobby Draper ends up sacrificing herself and gets killed in order to shut down the ship, which I think was probably the best way for her to die. This is something that all of the characters talked about. She talked to Alex before her death and was kind of like, I will do what I have to. Like, my concern is humanity at this point. And so, as she's sort of facing down this giant ship, she is killed. I think it's a tracer round or something, like goes through her body armor suit. That really big armor suit that she uses throughout the show and the books, which is awesome. No one can overpower her with it, so they send spaceship bullets at her, and they kill her, but it ends up leading to them completely destroying that ship, which is probably the most powerful ship of all time, like aside from whatever proto-molecule stuff was made billions of years ago. Like, it's incredible the amount of technology that this empire has taken control of using the proto-molecule. It's so cool. The more I talk about this book, the more I'm loving it. It's really fascinating. But so she dies. Amos seemingly dies, and this is like within 5 chapters of them that they both die. And I was so upset by that. I did not like that at all. And then it ended up that Bobby Draper died in probably the most badass way that I could think of for her. And then Amos came back. So I'm like, hey, like, everything's back to normal. And we have a really great escape scene between Teresa and Holden when they leave the Emperor's sort of complex. And it is such a fun scene because Teresa is with her dog, and her dog is sort of like, let's go, and they're all chasing, and Holden is like, he didn't work out at all during his imprisonment with the Emperor, because he can technically walk around and do whatever he wants in the complex, but he ends up sort of just shutting down and sort of is just hoping that someone will come rescue him, because he knows that he will eventually be rescued. So he's just sort of biding his time. He's using Teresa sort of as a way to put a wedge between her and her father, or sort of telling her a lot of things and telling her, like, keep an eye on me, like, always have me in your thoughts and like all this stuff, which I was wondering where that was headed. And then it ended up being that she really saw through the facade of her father's rule, because he always talks about how everything has to be perfectly presented. And we have this are the only sort of, like, there's a other doctor character who I forget the name of. Maybe that was Cortazar, but I feel like there was a good scientist that we followed who was just really fascinating and proved to be a really good role model for Teresa. But we have this other evil doctor who is sort of like pretending to be her friend and pretending to be someone who is looking out for her best interests. And by the end of the book, he is just the biggest piece of shit ever, and straight up tells her, like, you need to shut the fuck up, like, you're useless, like, you're only here in order to serve the Empire, like, you have to put up a front, and like all this stuff, and we will kill you, and I actually want to use you as a science experiment in regards to the proto-molecule being used to give humans immortality. Because in book 7, we have the Emperor being infected with this proto-molecule mixture, which gives him immortality, but there's a lot of issues, and early in this book, he becomes brain dead, because I can't remember exactly how it happens, but there was a really weird proto-molecule event that happened that basically shut down everything within the vicinity of the outer ring planets, which I thought was just really fascinating. And he ends up being basically intellectually killed because he's unable to talk anymore. He's unable to move. Every now and then he can get up and kind of walk around, but he's mostly just sitting there, just lolling about and just looking up, at around the room and not really doing anything. So they have to prop up his daughter and be like, oh, like, the emperor's too busy right now. He's too busy. He can't come out and talk to anyone. But in reality, he's just brain dead. And I really, at first, I hated that storyline, but as it went on, I thought it was much better than I thought it was because I was like, oh no, like, we're kind of nerfing the emperor because he is this really great, bigger than life figure in the empire, and we have all this stuff going on, and then this happens, and I'm like, oh, okay, that kind of sucks, but then it didn't, so I didn't really mind it too much once some time passed. But yeah, that evil scientist, he tries to take Teresa and infect her with the proto-molecule mixture, and he is killed. And I love that. I'm happy that he was killed. He was a really shitty character, and everyone reunites during this. And Naomi comes down in the spaceship with Alex, and they talk about the death of Bobby. And everyone reunites, and it's amazing. And they fly away, and Teresa is technically a prisoner. But she's kind of like, she kind of tells everyone in the Empire, like, go fuck yourselves. Like, I'm done. Which I really enjoyed. I really like her character. She's really interesting and spunky, and I love that. But yeah, I enjoyed this book a lot more than I thought I would as I read it. It started off really scary, having Avasarala killed off and be like, oh no, who else is going to be killed off? And then we had Bobby, who died, and then we had a sudden reveal that Amos has been here the whole time, and he got killed, and I was like, well, shit. But he came back, and Bobby Draper just had such a badass death, I feel like, so I didn't mind it at all, but yeah, I think I'll still give this an 8.5. I mean, I give most books 8.5, but I think that's okay. I would really like to see these three books adapted. I still feel that way. I said that at the end of my book 7 review, and I still feel that way now. And I'm just so excited to finish the Expanse. That's my goal before the end of the year, so I have about a month and a half to read book 9, and then the short novella, or short story collection, I should say, not novellas, but yeah, I'm so excited. I love this book. It's not my favorite of the series, but it's up there. It's top 4, I would say. So thank you all so much for watching, and please have a great rest of the day.